So with much drama, our next speaker is Katrina Levitt from the Nevada State Office and also the Carson City District Office, where she's a range ecologist. And she's going to be talking about defensible data making grazing decisions in the 21st century. So thank you, Katrina.
Good morning. As Sarah said, my name is Katrina Levitt, and I work for the Bureau of Land Management as a rangeland ecologist here in Nevada. The purpose of this talk is to present an overview of the relationship among land health, rangeland health standards, and AIM indicators, and to also share an example of how AIM data can be used for project scale management decisions. BLM is required to manage for multiple use and for the fundamentals of rangeland health, which are critical to sustaining the function of ecosystems. Land health standards apply to all ecosystems in all BLM management actions. And as Emily stated in her talk, there are 4 fundamentals of rangeland health. The fundamentals are watershed function, water quality, ecological processes, and habitat condition. In 2005, individual states and regions were required to either amend their current land health standards or develop new standards to incorporate each of these 4 fundamentals of rangeland health. Thus, the BLM fundamentals of rangeland health and related standards provide a common set of interdisciplinary questions that the BLM seeks to answer from the scale of individual grazing allotments to national level reporting to ensure the sustainable management of functioning ecosystems. The AIM strategy provides a consistent approach to addressing the questions of whether land health fundamentals and standards are being achieved, thus informing adaptive management at multiple scales across BLM. The AIM core indicators relate to each land health fundamental and standard. Therefore, AIM data can be used to evaluate a majority of the standards. On this slide is a partial list of the AIM indicators related to the rangeland health fundamentals. A complete crosswalk of the fundamentals and indicators can be found at aimlandscapetoolbox.org. For me personally, I believe functioning ecosystems are critically important. During my lifetime, I've seen areas shift from native sagebrush to annual grasslands. AIM is a tool to understand processes which are driving changing conditions on the landscape and to enable adaptive management at multiple scales. So now that we have an overview of the relationships among land health, BLM rangeland health standards, and AIM indicators, we'll go through a few examples from Elko, Nevada. The Elko Field Office used AIM data to inform the evaluation of land health standards on the Curtis Spring grazing allotment. Thank you to Dan Zervesden in the Elko Field Office for compiling the data and providing an example for today's presentation. The process of AIM data analysis is very similar to other data analysis. The interdisciplinary team started by identifying the Curtis Spring allotment as their evaluation area. The identified management objective was upland soils exhibit infiltration and permeability rates that are appropriate to soil type, climate, and landform. This standard is from the Rangeland Health Standards and Guidelines developed by the Northeastern Great Basin Resource Advisory Council. The indicators for this standard are canopy and ground cover. The next step in the process was to identify quantitative objectives or benchmarks for this standard. The Rangeland Health Standard for infiltration and permeability applied to all areas within the allotment, but benchmarks had to be developed for each of the dominant plant communities within the allotment to ensure the benchmarks were appropriate for the site potential. So down here is listed the ecological site and the benchmarks that they came up with for cover based on the ecological site descriptions for their three plant communities. After setting the benchmarks, the team examined the data they had available within the evaluation area. There were 4 established monitoring locations within the allotment. 2 of the locations, 3 and 4 up top, were part of the AIM stratified random sample design. The remaining 2 samples down at the bottom were 1 and 2 were from a non-random key area targeted sample design. Data from all these monitoring points and from multiple monitoring methods, both qualitative and quantitative, were used to determine if soil infiltration and permeability were appropriate to site potential. And these are the results from the 2 AIM monitoring points, and the foliar cover exceeded the cover described in the ecological site description. So from this, it indicated that that the standard was being achieved. This was from our this was from the key area monitoring, and also, again, the values exceeded those of our benchmark, therefore considered the standard met from this data as well. So the vegetative cover values at all the sample sites were higher than the reference ecological site values. There are adequate amounts of vegetation to intercept rain, snow, and runoff and facilitate infiltration. And for the qualitative assessment, there was minimal evidence of soil erosion, such as rills and gullies. However, there were fewer perennial grasses and forbs than what would be expected for these sites. The second example is also from the Curtis Spring allotment, and it's for the habitat standard, and the team followed the same evaluation process for this standard. The team identified 8 indicators for greater sage-grouse breeding habitat from the land use plan amendment. So the indicators are the top lines, and then the benchmark standards for suitable, marginal, and unsuitable are below. The shrub component, basically they concluded that the shrub component for breeding habitat was suitable to marginal in both the Black and Wyoming sagebrush sites. And then when they looked at the herbaceous components for greater sage-grouse breeding habitat, they determined that the habitat was unsuitable in both Black and Wyoming sagebrush sites. By evaluating land health standards with AIM and other data sources, it was determined that the sites were meeting upland standards, but the habitat standard was not being met due to an overall lack of grasses and forbs. The Elko Field Office successfully used AIM data to inform the evaluation of watershed function and sage-grouse habitat conditions on the Curtis Spring grazing allotment. They used the best available data and multiple lines of evidence to assess natural resource conditions in the allotment, to evaluate livestock use on the allotment, and to reach sound management decisions, which resulted in the issuance of a 10-year term grazing permit. The AIM data enabled the field office to examine resource conditions in Black and Wyoming sagebrush plant communities, including suitability for sage-grouse habitat. Although a multiple-scale habitat assessment framework was not completed, the AIM data points would be suitable for inclusion in a habitat assessment. The AIM stratified sample design enables the comparison of habitat conditions within the allotment to average range-wide conditions. With invasive species, fire, shifting weather patterns, driving changes on the landscape, it is important to have monitoring samples that can represent the larger population and keep pace with quickly changing conditions to enable adaptive management at multiple scales. This larger data set helps us tell the story of the lands we care about and depend upon. As shown in the examples, incorporating AIM principles into BLM data collection practices is beneficial for both regional and site-scale projects. Data describe ecosystem conditions and support management decisions. And thanks for your time, and I'll take any questions. Okay.
I know, like, sometimes at some point, and that's the question if you call manage and articles that help people that are identifiable on the ground, but using it for a daily download assessment, additional data that might be like April, March, even February, after those early signals.
Absolutely, yeah. I know on the Carson district, we are, when we're working on a grazing permit renewal, we're asking the AIM crews to go and, if we're working on a grazing permit renewal and there's sage-grouse habitat, we're asking the AIM crews to go there early in the season, so we're sampling at the appropriate time of year. But there's also additional data collected. For this talk, I was kind of highlighting how AIM data can be incorporated into our permit renewal process, but I didn't go through all the other data collection and data analysis that are going on as part of that permit renewal. But yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, my reason so my question is, can you see any much that you can do, and then use several other, typical key areas and insights? Given probably the difference in the way those points are selected, the analysis, it speaks to what that analysis was, but it's just understand the different kind of comparison.
So, for the purposes of permit renewal, I mean, they were definitely looking at, you know, those points representing conditions within the allotment. For this particular allotment, the key area data still worked well because the key area data was, you select a representative area to, you know, you select a representative area to represent more area within your allotment. And those were still applicable here because the area hadn't been burned, they hadn't had any floods or anything where the key area still resembled the surrounding area. So it was a very traditional, straightforward approach. And then also the AIM plots, although they were randomly selected as part of a larger study area, they could also be used for the grazing permit renewal because they were also representative of the conditions in that allotment.
Right, well, I agree with the representation. Probably talked about how the problem naturally was the points that made it extrapolate to a level of acreage because the key points kind of depth practices with like RMC level kind of question. So when you take that limit growth from the allotment, I'm willing to weigh those points versus, you know, the area we can only take so far. That, you know, I'm comfortable with the representation of it. I'm willing to do conversation in regards to the way that
Yeah, and I am not a statistician, but I can tell you a great thing is you could get your sample design together and you can send it to the NOC, and they help you with all the weighting and they make sure your sample design is wonderful. So we are doing that. We are.
When we take a random point and use it as more of a found data point for another application, we don't always need to take that weight into account if we don't seek to make statistical inference with confidence in it. So
I guess that's my question.
they did not do that. They basically screened those AIM points to ask if they had characteristics like other key areas, enough it could be considered a key area. There might be some AIM points they screen and they say this does not meet our key area criteria, and it's not representative of average grazing conditions, if you will.
Great. Thanks.
Questions? Any other questions?
Again, it ties back into that watershed function about, you know, if our soil site stability ratings are in line with our reference site, then we're thinking, you know, that our soils are stable and it's looking good. If our soil site stability values are way different, more erosive than what we find in the ecological site description, and we're seeing things like gullies and rills and seeing soil movement on the landscape. Like I said, it's multiple lines of evidence to get at, you know, is that watershed functioning, and if it's not functioning, what specifically isn't functioning? Is it that we have eroded soils? Is it that we don't have the appropriate plant community to capture and store water? Am I getting at your question, or did I? We are. Like I said, today's talk was just to kind of highlight how you could use these AIM data points that you already have and how you could incorporate them into a permit renewal, but I for sure did not thoroughly address a grazing permit renewal. There's much more that goes into it.
What was the output for that?
Yes.
So what was the process of the field office level to like come up with those quantitative benchmarks? Was that like an IE team process, like over a span of time, or how did that work?
Yeah, it was definitely they assembled their interdisciplinary team, and they looked at what they had available and came up with reasoned, you know, documented their rationale for coming up with those benchmarks for different ecological sites. And I think there is enough AIM data now that there is the possibility to utilize AIM data to help you in setting your benchmarks as well. I'm presenting for Dan Zervesden today, so I work on the western part of Nevada, and he works on the eastern part of Nevada. But yeah, I know that they went through that interdisciplinary team process to set benchmarks.
Well, thank you so much, Katrina, and double thanks for stepping in for Dan at the last minute. It was a last minute switcheroo, and Katrina did a great job.